Good morning, everyone. Hello, hello. Good morning. Happy Independent Bookstore Day. Excited to be joined by Kathy Barnett, the owner of the Brain Lair in South Bend. Just give everyone a chance to enter the room. I'm going to make sure that Kathy's here. Good morning. I haven't done this in so long. Oop. Almost sent a request to be fun. All right. Waiting. Good day from Australia. Oh my gosh. That's incredible. What time is it in Australia? Oh my gosh. Kathy and I are texting one another. I think we went live on both of our pages. That might be my bad. 1 second. Anyway, good morning to everyone. It is Independent Bookstore Day, and I'm excited to talk with Kathy because independent bookstores really need us right now. They've needed us for the last year, and they always need our support. But big box stores aren't suffering right now, but a lot of bookstores that we all love are. And it's really important to me that we support those local businesses, especially businesses like Kathy's in South Bend. That is just such a warm and inviting center for everyone, but especially young people. She does a great job of amassing a diverse collection of books so that every child can find something that speaks to them if they're curious about something or they just want to see themselves reflected on the page. So I love chatting with Kathy. I'm excited for you to be able to chat with her. She's making her way over to the page right now. And we're just going to talk about books. We're going to talk about her bookstore. We're going to talk about writing books, and then maybe we'll take some questions. So I see some of you are submitting questions below, and we're excited to chat for a little bit. All right, let's see if she's here. Boop.
Hi, Chasten.
There you are. Hi.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good morning.
Yay! I'm like, where's Chasten?
Sorry.
He started this.
Here we are. It is so nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too. I didn't realize how much I would miss seeing you because those last few days you were in the store so much. It was like, oh, why am I here? Chasten's not here.
Well, I surely miss you, and I miss your store. And I was telling folks before you popped over here that you have done such a great job at creating spaces where everyone feels welcome, especially young people. And I think that's really important. So I thought maybe you could just start off by telling everybody a little bit about your store, what makes it unique, and why you wanted to start it.
All right. Well, I'm Kathy Burnett, and I own Brain Lair Books. It's here in South Bend, Indiana. We are primarily a children's bookstore, and our focus is uplifting marginalized voices. That means we look for books featuring and written by BIPOC, LGBTQ+, children with disabilities or other people with disabilities. We hope that we can find own voices because normally, if you do find these people in stories, they're not the star, they're the sidekick or they're the secondary. And the story is not always about the power that they already possess themselves, but about somebody else helping them. So I want to center those voices that say we all have power, we all have agency, and here's my cool story, which is just as cool as your story. Let us have a cool story together. I started the store because I was doing this for schools already, like helping them diversify their classroom libraries. I was a school teacher and a school librarian. I have a daughter who's biracial, not a lot of books that feature her and books, and thought, well, we really kind of need this. We need everybody to know that they're important. And if I can find books that teachers can use to meet their standards, then they're more likely to use them. So I have a degree in education also. Then a lot of stuff happened in the world. As you know, we had a president that was not very nice. You know, I'm not really a nice person myself, so I can't really say that. I said he was adamantly opposed to others. He was adamantly opposed to anyone that was not like himself or that would not kowtow to him. And I thought, you know what, I need to take this message global, because the more we learn about other people, the less afraid we are. And then we see there's nothing to be afraid of. Like the world is not a piece of pie where if I get some, you don't get some. If I get some, we all get some, because I'm spreading it around to the people that I have contact with, and so are you. So, and that's how we did it.
Yeah, and we've talked about this a bit, hanging out in your store when you were doing some of this work in schools. But what do you think is lacking in a lot of schools, school libraries, and why did you want to start your own store? What kind of pushed you out of the school and pushed you into your own store? Not to say that maybe it was a negative experience, but I know we had talked about how you had a dream for South Bend and you had a dream for the kids in South Bend. So tell me a little bit about that.
And one thing that I notice is that the children need to see themselves in books. Children need to see people similar to them. They need to see what they can do, so they can start writing their own story. It's hard to write your story if you have never seen somebody that looks like you in the book. And one thing we notice in schools is they have been using the same books for 50 years or longer. If you haven't read To Kill a Mockingbird, you probably were told to, even though you skipped it. And children stopped reading. Teachers complain that kids don't read, but it's because they don't want to read the stuff that they're giving to them. That stuff has no bearing on their lives that they're living right now. They get the idea that this is for school, and so they don't read for pleasure. And so I wanted to change that. And also, Rooting Sims Bishop, she wrote a paper called Windows, Mirrors, and Sliding Glass Doors about how it's important to look at other people and learn about their experiences, but it's just as important for not only me to see myself in books, but also the majority to see themselves, to see myself, see me in a book, to see that I could do things, because it changes your mind. Books develop empathy. Right. And the empathy is what helps us connect to other people and helps us to connect to their story. And so I just wanted to do more of that. I believe that if we change the way education works, we change the books that we're reading, we stop reading To Kill a Mockingbird, put it on your classroom shelf if you still need to have it in your classroom. But if that book solved racism like so many teachers said it does, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't have these conversations that we're still having. And so I think that's it, right? If we could change those things, if we could change books that only feature a traditional, so-called traditional family, if we could change books where we have same-sex parents, there are so many people with same-sex parents that you don't see these books in schools. You're not seeing that. If you talk about indoctrinating, that's what schools always, that's their excuse, right? We don't want to indoctrinate, but you're doing that by erasing the lives that are lived. You're erasing us. People who say they don't see color, people who say they don't see this, you are erasing. You're saying that color is bad. It's not. So schools just need to, I think their reading scores would go up. Literacy would be through the roof if we had more engaging books. If we read Hate You Give, if we read I Have Something to Tell You. Imagine the high school kids whose lives could be saved by reading I Have Something to Tell You and understanding it's not just me. I'm not alone in this, and there is hope for me. Look at this. Look what could happen. So I think that's like the biggest thing for me. If we could just if we can't convince teachers, then I would just go around them and go straight to the kids and just put the
Yeah.
book straight in the hands of the people who need them. So that's what
Well,
has to happen, I think.
I love that you mentioned that, because one of the hardest questions for me to answer, especially when we were doing the book tour, was like, what did you read when you were younger? What was your favorite book from childhood? And I really struggled reading when I was younger. One, because it wasn't encouraged. My parents didn't really encourage me to read that much, but not because, they thought it was weird, but because we were like a hands-on family. We were a 4-H family. We were always outside. And then I was self-conscious about reading because I really loved spending time in my bedroom and reading. But I didn't want like my brothers or my peers to think that I was weird because I read. And that's what I had learned about reading, that you were a nerd and you were weird. And I was so focused on not being seen as a nerd because of all of that internalized homophobia. And
Yes.
so people ask that question all the time. And, I saw some of myself in Harry Potter because I finally found a book where, the kid's kind of weird and he's an outcast and he gets to run away from his family and he finds other kids who are different, right? But, Harry Potter wasn't queer. So the book never answered that burning question deep inside of me, like, something is happening in here and I don't know what it is. And I never saw it until college. I was
Think
in
about
a
that.
drama class in college as like a 20-year-old where the professor was like, now, what do we all think about, we were reading Cat on a Hot Tin Roof in a drama class and we were talking about brick sexuality. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And she was like, well, he's gay. Like, clearly that's part of the drama here. And it was just like alarm bells and red alarms. And it was like, hold up. You can write about something and he might not be gay on the surface, but there's like sexuality going on. Like, my world was just shattered. It was like a shell had come off of my existence in the world, that I had never ever picked up a book about a queer person because I didn't even have the language for it. It was never
Exactly. And
presented
that's
to
it
me.
too, right? You didn't have the language for it. Someone came to the store, she was wearing a hijab and she saw a book that had a kid on the cover wearing a hijab and she cried. It's like your world changed when you realize, oh, I'm okay. Because basically that's what it's saying, right? It's like normalizing it. It's like, I'm okay. I am
Yeah.
not the only one. I am not wrong for being me. It's like, it's just so many things that people don't think about. And I like how you said that you didn't want to be a nerd in front of your family. And so, you didn't read a lot, which is a big deal in schools. And so I'm in a group called Nerds. We are the Nerdy Book Club. We used to go to nerd camp every summer because we wanted to take that back and show that reading can be fun and exciting and interesting for kids. And so we want kids to be carrying that big book around, like, look at me, I have this huge book I'm reading, and people are jealous. I used to kids would put books on hold and I would deliver it to them to the classroom like it was some kind of big Publishers Clearinghouse check. Look, your book has arrived. You're the winner.
That's incredible.
Like you have to celebrate it because, like you said, it's not like they don't discourage you from reading, but we forget that we could also be listening to a book while we're reading. There are different ways to read. There are different things to read. But really, seeing yourself just changes your life. I believe that because it's happened to me. And it can save your life because you can see, I grew up in the projects in the south side of Chicago. I do not have to have this be my life. This book can show me that there is a different way that I can be, and possibly I can change my life, which means I'm going to change somebody else's life.
I love that. And as a teacher, I was so jealous of some of my students when I was teaching 7th and 8th grade. And I had these 2 girls who were obsessed with reading. They were always reading. We had solo time in our classroom where you could spend 30 minutes doing whatever brought you joy, as long as you spent that entire 30 minutes doing it. You could paint, you could draw, you could read, you could do Legos. And anytime they had a chance to turn to a book, they turned to a book, and they were just burning through books, and the school librarian couldn't keep up with them. And I remember telling them, like, I'm so jealous of you. I'm so jealous of how you're just not afraid to be so smart and independent. And you have so many opinions, and you're so curious, and you just pour yourself into knowledge and discovery. I wish I would have had that confidence when I was in middle school, because I probably maybe my world would have looked a little bit different had I had the confidence to jump into others, right?
Yes, yes.
And so I'm glad that you get to provide that space for those kids who are either already there and want to devour everything that's available, or the kids who are just tiptoeing into reading because they don't really see how it could, serve them.
Yes, yeah, that's a great conversation. Like, they don't see how it can serve them. They are like, why are you bringing me here? I'm not going to read about anybody doing skateboarding or whatever I like to do. It's like, I've never heard of a book like that. I've never been introduced to a book like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to serve the kids. I'm here to, as a school librarian, I was there to serve the kids. That was my main thing. I don't need to have these teacher-friendly books in here. Put those in your classroom. This library is for the kids, so they know they are welcome here.
Yeah. I think we announced a little bit ago that I'm adapting the book for young readers. And one of the things I've been talking about is just how like so many adults get it wrong. And I feel like you don't read that when you're a kid, especially like when you're in middle school. Like sometimes adults don't know what they're doing. They have no
They do
idea.
not.
And they pretend that they're protecting you and they're there to serve you. But what they're really doing is protecting one another, and they're protecting their opinions and their fears and their beliefs.
Yes.
And that is why I love your store, is because it's not this like comfortable space for a very like heteronormative whitewashed bookstore that I feel like a lot of us grew up in. It's there to show kids like, this is you, and you can pick up this book and see yourself inside of it. And I'm just excited to be a little piece of that puzzle and write these stories where it's like, yeah, I grew up thinking that nobody like me ever existed, and you do, and that's totally cool.
Just think about that. They will have it before they go to college. They will have it before that. They could have this. We have queer books now coming out in middle grade. They could have this at 11 years old. They could see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like crying right now because just imagining the world that they could have is like, you are so uncomfortable already as a kid because everybody is in control of your life except for you. You have nothing. And to have books that you can read where you're resting this control and saying, this is who I am, it gives you something. It builds you up. Like I don't know. Of course, I love reading kid books and I have read adult books, but there's something about the magic that happens when a kid finally sees themselves in a book, and the magic that happens when they realize that they are not non-readers as they have thought because their grades have said they're non-readers. They can't answer what this metaphor is. And they realize, oh, wait, not only like kids would come back to the library and say, I finished this book. I've never finished a book. I'm sorry, I'm gonna cry again. I'm always crying. It's like I haven't finished a book in my whole life. This is the first book I ever finished. Like that, I don't understand. I don't know if adults understand how powerful that is. And you talked about they're trying to protect you, but they're not. That's the one thing I always tell parents when they're thinking about what they want their kids to read. What are you comfortable with having a conversation about? I'm not going to censor these books. These books are going to be here for everyone because it's more than your child that's visiting this library, right? Yeah. And you have to have that conversation with your child, and you say, I'm not ready to talk about sex with you, so I'm going to not have you read these books. Like, have that open conversation so that when they need to talk to you, they will come talk to you. And they don't have to sneak and read the book because they get it.
And you're not depicted as an animal.
Yes.
That's such an issue. Like, okay, well, this zebra has polka dots instead of stripes, and he feels very different than the other zebras. But like, is the zebra queer? I can't tell. I don't know if this is.
He didn't have the rainbow stripes. He just had red ones. Come on, there are clear ideas here of what it should look like. But think about that, even like the stereotypical of what we have said that is supposed to be, and that would be the acceptable thing that we would talk about even. But yes, animals have there are more books about animals than there are about marginalized voices.
Animals are living their best damn lives in books.
And they're not writing the books. Like they're not even getting anything out of this. They would be so angry, if they saw these books about them and they're not getting one dime. They have not earned out a penny yet.
Yeah, the queer liberation movement came to the animal kingdom a lot. Yes. Yeah.
Well, think about that though. Animals don't have that delineation that we make in here. We have determined these things. We have made gender a thing. We decided that. And when it didn't fit what we wanted, we changed it to mean something else. Like every time people get comfortable with themselves and what they're doing, there has to be a change from the people who are afraid for their position. Like, this is going to change what I get out of this if I allow you to be who you are.
Absolutely. And I'm still having those moments now as an adult, like reading other people's stories. I've been reading a lot of memoir. I don't know why. And when I'm reading other queer people's stories, I get really emotional because I didn't read them for 30 years, right? And now I'm discovering that there are all of these other adults who went through the same things and sometimes went through much harder things. And here I thought, I was suffering, and then I read other people's stories and to think like we were all so lonely and we were all going through this alone. But then you like pick up this book and you read their story and you think like, oh my God, there are so many other people out there who are like me and who believe in equality like me and who, went through that loneliness like me. I just picked up Brandy Carlisle's book. I brought many
Hold it up a
props
little bit. We couldn't see it.
Brandy Carlisle just came out with a book. I love her music. I'm halfway through like 50 books right now. I don't know if you have like COVID. You're a bookseller, so I feel like that's your job. I've got COVID fatigue. I could get like halfway through a book and I take a nap.
I'm working harder than I worked when the store was open because of COVID, because there's so much stuff in front of the computer. So like you, I think I have 10. If you go to my Goodreads, it says 10 books reading right now. It's like,
oh, really?
every time I'm like, I probably finish maybe 3 books a week. But that's about it. I used to read a book a day. So.
Oh my God.
So that kind of makes it sound bad. I'm trying to like show people that 3 books a week, even though people are like 3 books a week, that's so much. Oh my God, stop complaining. I'm going like, I get to read 7. Now I can only read 3. Oh my gosh. My reading life is suffering.
I'm proud of you. I'm just trying to be gracious to myself. I'm trying to take care of myself, and I'm trying not to be too hard on myself.
Because that's like, how it should be.
During COVID, we're like, I got to lose 50 pounds and read 100 books. And really, what you need to do is just stay alive and take care of other people.
Thank you.
Right?
I have just watched all the Marvel movies in chronological order. It's like just stuff like that. Like, this is what I do. It's like, I don't need to do those other things. Self-care is the most important thing you could be doing right now. Loving yourself. There's a book called Love is a Revolution. And I'm talking self-love. Like, how are you taking care of yourself? How are you putting your mask on? You cannot help anybody else without taking care of yourself first. It's not being selfish. It's being outgoing. It's being supportive. Like, hey, I'm in this. I have the mental space to talk to you and to help you. So read those stories. Don't finish them. I have a shelf of abandoned books. I create one every year because I know somewhere down the line I'm going to start a book and not finish it. But maybe I want to come back to it in a couple of months and then I'll finish it then.
Get something from it. Yeah, absolutely. And I find like the more gracious I am with myself and the more I take care of myself, the better I write. And if I'm just sitting here like on my 10th cup of coffee, worrying about what my editor thinks and like fearful of impressing everybody and, thinking about the deadlines, and the scrutiny, then I'm not going to get anything done. And what I do get done is going to be trash. But if I take care of myself, and my well-being, I think this translates to everybody's work. You'll see that it pays tenfold.
Think about that. I was going to ask you about that too. Having the book become an instant bestseller. What is the pressure on you right now? Like to either, like I know people are clamoring for the young adult book, but I'm sure there's other books besides that in you. How does that feel? Do you feel that you can write some more stories? Do you feel so much pressure to try to meet that same demand that happened before? How do you like navigate this?
Yeah, it's been really tough. And to be honest, when I wrote the memoir, I had only written, loosely during the campaign trail. And then when we came home, we went right into quarantine, but I didn't think about quarantine. I went into writing mode. It was like, writing a master's thesis.
Writing teen, warranting.
Yeah, exactly. So the pandemic hadn't really set in because I was just working 12-hour days churning out a book. And now I feel like I have so much more time to let stories breathe and to think about what's really important, especially when I know that this next one is for those middle grades, for younger people. And to me, it's almost more important because it's the book that I wish I would have had, right? And so sometimes I'll write and write and write, and then I realize like that was just for me, and I just had to process that. But I'm like very fearful of what it could mean, everything in the future, what it could mean. I guess we all worry about like what if it's bad, but I have read this book 100 times now because I'm trying to figure out what to cut and what to stretch, and there are many parts of it where I realize like, oh, that wasn't my best writing, or maybe that story didn't need to be there, or I think this story was serving a purpose at the time, but I don't know if it adds to the overall story. I'm just constantly rethinking because it's your life, right? Like, how do you present your life to the rest of the world? So I guess there's a lot of pressure there, but I also feel ever since I published that, ever since I came out into the world, I just feel so much freer to say what I want on the page and to be real and try to make it as authentic as possible. Because I think, especially eighth graders, like they have a really good BS meter,
Yes.
and they'll pick up that book and be like, "Well, this is crap. I'm not going to read that." And
Yes.
I don't want to
Yes.
write a crap book,
Well, I think I've wondered about that too. Like, so you have the book, but in essence, you're actually having to write a new book. Like,
Right.
so you have to go back through every single thing. And one, you can't dumb it down for kids. That's not what
Oh
you're
no.
trying to do. So how do you decide? I don't know. Like you said, you're writing a story for yourself, but you are also writing a story for other people. And you know how critical and judgmental people are, but at the same time, you know how vulnerable kids are, right? And if you,
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to be you. I think it would be harder to write the young adult version because of the actual lives at stake. There are so many kids that don't know they're waiting for this book, right? There's so many
Yeah.
kids you're going to save.
It's really hard. It's not easy, and it is like writing a whole new book. I mean, you would think you're kind of starting with a product, but it's just my life. I know the chapters and I know what's in there and I know kind of the arc of my own story in my memoir, but that's not the same story I want young people to read. So there are some stories in there that I want them to read, but there are so many stories that aren't in this book that are so important for young people to know and to read. So that's what I'm really struggling with, actually. And I've been doing a lot of reflecting with some friends in school and growing up. I have a very close friend who grew up just a few streets away from me, and we've sort of been sharing stories about our childhood and reflecting on what it meant to grow up in that neighborhood. And when I'm talking with her, I think of a million things I would want to say, And then when I'm reading other people's stories, I'm halfway through Untamed by Glennon Doyle. I just
Good
love
one.
how badass she is, and like,
Yes.
God, I want that. I want that to come across on the page too, because I don't just want young people to be like, oh, he was sad and gay and he didn't know it, and now he does, and everything's great, There's also just that like raw truth that needs to be in there as well. So,
Well, maybe you should be writing about 3 books. You're writing the young adult version of this book. You're writing a fiction young adult book so that you
oh my
can
God.
have these kind of stories, but you're also writing your own untamed kind of book. And we're just going to call it Chasten, Loose. Like, I think that should be really, like, you can write all these books at the same time, just like you're reading all these books at the same time. Just have your paper ready. I will sell all the books. Like, no worries. We will get the books out there. If we had a book called Chasten Unleashed, man, that would be insane. That would just be powerful. Seriously. I don't know if you're ready for that because Pete is still in office. So
yeah, that's the other thing, right? You can't, you never want to make news and you never want to distract. And when people remind you that everything you do is a reflection of your husband, which is therefore a reflection of the president, you kind of don't want to do anything ever.
Right.
But I want to, I love and appreciate you that you're asking me these questions about the book. I kind of want to turn it back towards you For everyone who's still watching, we're celebrating Independent Bookstore Day. We're celebrating Kathy today and all of the important things she does for the South Bend community, especially young people. I hope that everyone will consider going to your website. Kathy, can you remind us of what your website is?
It's www.brainlairbooks, and that's BRAIN, not Brian, BRAIN, books.com. And Brain Lair is an anagram of librarian, if you're ever stuck on that. So it's this Instagram account. Everything we have is Brain Lair Books. So you should be able to find us. We would love for you to stop by. Support our store. I mean, COVID had this weird impact on the store. All right. On the one part, people were ordering online more. Yay, people ordering online. On the second part, we were at home when everything happened with George Floyd. Boo, racist people who I don't love so much, even though God says love everybody. Sorry, God. That's going to have to wait. But so on the one hand, I had all those books we were selling, right? All those anti-racist books, so many of them. And then suddenly nobody's buying anything. So in the summer, everybody's like, buy black, buy black. And then it's like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to go back to doing what I'm doing. Those people are okay now. And so I want people to like continue buying black because it shouldn't actually be special, right? You should just be supporting people. You shouldn't. I'm not going to say don't support me because I'm black, because if that's the reason you're supporting me, own it. That's fine with me. I will play the race card. No problem there. But just support me because I'm doing good work. Support me because you want to be a part of this thing that we are doing. You want to uplift marginalized voices. You want kids to see that they're important. That's kind of why you would support the store also. But just buy all the books, people. Buy them. Do it.
Yeah.
Okay,
and can
that's
you
my commercial.
help everyone? Can you please help everyone understand what you have explained to me about what it just takes for an independent bookstore to survive? Because when a lot of people, you know, if they need that savings, they can go to the big online retailer and they can save money on the book. But if they have that ability, what's that breakdown of the price structure at your store? And can you help everyone understand like how little of a book sale actually supports the store?
Well, let's say a book costs $10. I am going to pay $6 for that book, right? So I don't have enough money. I got $4, but also I pay $175 a month just to have this website. I pay a commission on every sale. I still pay shipping, even if I don't give you shipping. I'm still going to pay shipping to get it sent to you. You have to think about the taxes that we have to pay. You think about the roof over your head because you have overhead from that. People don't always walk in the door and buy something. Sometimes they just walk in the door, take pictures and go buy something else. And so there are moments where people think we're making a lot of money where I'm actually losing money. Like I had to cut my online order person's hours this week because I'm like, I am paying you more than I'm actually bringing in. It looks like we're doing something, but the time it takes for you to do this, the time it takes for me to ship, we probably did $15,000 in shipping last year, like wow. $15,000. So people like are upset when we charge shipping, but it's because I'm paying it. I am charging you exactly what I'm paying. I'm not charging you a penny more. I am not trying to gouge anyone. That's not what I want to do. But I want you to read these books. I do very tiny discounts, but if I'm giving you a 10% discount, now I'm down to $3. So it's like, I'm not really making anything you can't eat, but I love what I'm doing. And I do have another job. A lot of booksellers have more than one job if they're small. So I work 3 days a week somewhere else to actually have a place to live and have food. Yeah. But I am committed to doing this work. I'm committed to doing this work. I would love for people to walk with me and do it with me. But this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I just got to think that at some point it's going to be maybe not profitable, but you know, I'm alive. I would like to thrive. No joke. I would like to thrive.
I want you to thrive.
Stuff, but
I don't think a lot of people understand just the importance of having you in the community. how important it is to have somebody like you in the community. Because if I'm a young kid and I want to find a book, or I'm a parent who thinks my kid's going through something, or just doesn't see themselves reflected in the books in the school library, I can go to Brain Lair Books and I can introduce them to Kathy. And when you can go online, you can go on Amazon and search "Am I gay?" and see what it comes up with, or I don't want to talk about them, but like if someone brings their kid into the store, they are meeting you,
I
and you
think
are
that's
you're
what I
that
miss right
important
now.
figure, right? That you can
Yes,
help guide people, and,
yes.
and
When I
you
talk
don't get
about
that
being
online.
here for the kids and the parents bring the kids, I try to separate the kids from the parents, because the parents always have ideas of what they think the kids like, but they don't understand that the kid wants to please you. So I'm going to say, yeah, I like that when you ask me, because I don't want to hurt your feelings, because you liked it as a kid and you've told me over and over again it was your most favorite book. So I'm going to say yes. So I try to separate them and talk to them so that they understand, like, okay, what do you need? You want a book about I am gay, but do you like this or do you like that? You don't like this, you don't like that. I want to curate that collection of things I
Right.
show them down to things that I really, truly believe will make a difference with them, that they will actually really like. I miss that probably the most. I miss going into schools, doing reading roundups, like just having an assembly about reading. And then we read, like we walk around and we read, we lay on the floor and we read, we give away books and we're like laughing and joking about that. Reading out loud, like I miss that, talking to high school kids and telling them how terrible I did in high school. And look at me now. So like, don't give up. It can happen to you too. It's
Yeah.
like just, I didn't read really avidly until I was in 7th grade. So it's not too late just because you're not reading then, just because everything I read, I sat in the hallway a lot. I was in trouble a lot as a kid. I was always in the chair in the hallway because I was disruptive. And that was basically because I was bored.
Yeah.
No good books, doing worksheets. It's just like, and the teacher wouldn't let me help other people. I'm like, I'm done. Why can't I help him? And they're just like,
Yeah.
go in the hallway, which was, they don't know it was actually fun because now I'm going to talk to everybody walking in the hallway.
Well, Kathy, I don't want to go too far over your time. I love talking to you, and I hope that anyone watching you can call and talk to Kathy. Please, please, please visit Kathy online. Follow her on Instagram, Twitter, on Facebook. And my personal ask for everyone today is if you don't know what book you want next, you can also just go onto brainlayerbooks.com and donate. You can just pitch in $5 and make sure that we can keep Brain Layer Books in South Bend, because as you've all heard over the past 40 minutes, Kathy's doing remarkable things for South Bend. And if you don't need that book that you're itching for tomorrow or 2 days, please order it through brainlayerbooks.com. I know we can itch that online button on some big websites online, but when you buy a book through someone like Kathy, you're not only getting that book, but you're supporting a vital business in South Bend. And for many booksellers around the country, like Kathy mentioned, that's their livelihood. So please, please consider supporting your local bookstore wherever you are. If you don't have a local bookstore wherever you are, Kathy is now your local bookstore. And you can talk to her on the phone, you can email with her. Please, please, please consider supporting Brain Layer Books today. Kathy, do you have any parting wisdom for all of us on this Independent Bookstore Day?
First, don't ever call me. So that's my first piece of wisdom, because I will never answer the phone.
Okay, don't call. Text.
You can text me though. I just want to say, like, people kind of worry, like, they want to get this other thing and they want to have it quickly. And they don't think about the impact that these different types of stores have on your community. Imagine only having Blockbuster, you have nowhere else to go. Imagine only having a chain restaurant, you have nowhere else to go. These places are what make your community what it is. Every dollar I make goes back into the community. I'm always out there buying stuff. I go to every store that's downtown and around me. I support all the people. I think if you thought about what do you want your community to look like, what do you want your community to stand for, and then you support those stores around you, all the independent stores, not just bookstores, but the independent restaurants, the independent mom and pop stationery stores. Like, find the stores that represent your community and go and help those people. And keep those dollars in your community. We pay taxes, unlike other places. Like, we pay taxes. I don't get a government break for doing my work. You know, nobody's giving me a tax credit for the people I'm hiring. All of that comes from what I'm doing here. So I think if you value that, if you truly value that, then support those people as much as you can.
Absolutely. This has been such a lovely conversation, Kathy, and I'm really excited for my paperback to come out June 1st, because I believe there is a certain bookseller in South Bend who's mentioned in the new foreword.
What?
I hope you know how much I appreciate you and how important you are to South Bend, and to so many other people around the country who love you for who you are and love what you do. I'm so glad we get to celebrate you today and everything that you have done.
Thank you, Chasten.
And I can't wait to hand deliver one of those to you
sometime
when I'm making the journey between Michigan and DC. So thank you for everything you do. We all love you so much.
I love you too.
And I can't wait to talk to you soon.
Thank you, Chasten.
BrainLairBooks.com. Everybody, please go donate. Please go buy your next book through Kathy and enjoy this Independent Bookstore Day. Take care.
Thanks, Chasten.
See ya.